People often underestimate just how powerful the fear of hell really is. To someone who's grown up hearing about it since they could speak, it's not just an abstract idea. It becomes a part of their psychological wiring. They don't believe they might suffer forever. They believe they will if they think the wrong thoughts or ask the wrong questions. That's not spiritual guidance. That's emotional blackmail. The idea of hell takes something deeply human, curiosity, doubt, independence, and treats it like a crime. Not just any crime, but one deserving of endless torture. That sets up a mental conflict that never really goes away. You're told to love a God who is ready to destroy you. You're told to trust a system that punishes even your thoughts. So every time you think for yourself, even silently, you feel guilty. That's not morality. That's control. Think about what it does to a child to hear that if they don't follow a specific set of rules, they could be burned, tortured, and separated from their family forever. It doesn't matter how gentle the delivery is. The threat is still there. You can code it in smiles and songs, but the message is clear. You're loved. Conditionally. And if you don't behave the way you're told, that love turns into punishment. The brain, especially a developing one, takes that seriously. Children don't know how to filter metaphor from threat. To them, hell is real in the same way gravity is. This is why so many people who leave religion still carry the fear of hell with them for years, sometimes for life. They stop believing in the doctrine, but the emotional scars remain. It's not just about rejecting a belief. It's about unlearning fear. It's about untangling the idea that pain is a justified response to disobedience. Psychologically, this kind of belief is a ticking time bomb. It creates what's called anticipatory anxiety. A persistent fear of something terrible that hasn't happened, but feels inevitable. People become obsessed with purity, terrified of mistakes, consumed by guilt over natural thoughts. This leads to compulsive behavior, suppressed emotions, and self-hate. That's not faith. That's trauma. It's not just about fear of punishment. It's also about who you're taught to fear it from. You're told it comes from a loving being. That kind of contradiction creates confusion at the deepest level. When someone tells you they love you while threatening to hurt you, that's abuse. It doesn't matter if the pain is physical, emotional, or eternal. The psychology is the same. It teaches people to associate love with fear. That's dangerous, because they carry that into every other relationship they form, with parents, with partners, with authority. Love becomes conditional. Trust becomes fear-based. Some people say hell is just a way to encourage good behavior. But fear doesn't create good people. It creates obedient ones. There's a difference. Morality based on threat isn't morality. It's submission. If you only do the right thing to avoid punishment, you haven't made a moral choice. You've responded to pressure. And when that pressure is tied to infinite suffering, the stakes become so high that people stop thinking altogether. They just follow. Even if what they're following is harmful, irrational, or unjust. Many religious traditions portray hell not just as punishment, but as justice. They say it's what people deserve. But the idea of someone deserving eternal torment for finite actions is completely disconnected from any meaningful understanding of justice. You don't sentence someone to a lifetime of pain for a moment of weakness. And yet, that's exactly what hell does. The punishment is infinite. The crime is often just being born into the wrong belief system. This raises a deeper question. If a system requires eternal punishment to maintain order, what kind of system is it? A fragile one. One that can't withstand doubt. One that can't tolerate freedom. That's not a sign of truth. That's a sign of insecurity. In many ways, hell functions like a psychological prison. It doesn't have to be real to have real effects. Just the idea of it is enough to keep people afraid to question, explore, or walk away. It's like a mental surveillance system. You're taught that your thoughts are being monitored, even your doubts. That you can't hide. That even in your most private moments, you are being judged. That's not spiritual awareness. That's paranoia. And that paranoia doesn't stay isolated. It spreads. It bleeds into how people view others. It's why so many religious people struggle to accept differences. They're not just seeing disagreement, they're seeing potential damnation. And when you believe someone is going to be tortured forever, it warps your empathy. It makes you either panic for them or judge them. Sometimes both. And in some cases, it even makes you secretly satisfied, as if seeing others punished confirms your own salvation. That's how religious fear becomes social control. It's not just about keeping people in line, it's about creating division, the saved and the damned, the insiders and the outsiders, and it's all rooted in fear of what comes after death. A fear that is constantly reinforced in sermons, in media, in childhood stories. You're told that your life is just a test, and the real reward or punishment comes later. That devalues life. It devalues the present. People end up obsessed with avoiding hell instead of living fully. They trade peace of mind for spiritual anxiety. There's also a hidden cruelty in the way hell is often used to silence pain. When someone suffers in life, they're told to be grateful it's not worse. That hell is the real suffering. That turns genuine human pain into a comparison game. You're not allowed to feel deeply because someone, somewhere, might have it worse, eternally worse. That doesn't heal people, it isolates them. It tells them their suffering is nothing in the grand scheme, but pain is pain, and invalidating it in the name of spiritual punishment doesn't help anyone. The truth is, the idea of hell doesn't just hurt people who believe in it. It hurts the entire conversation around morality, empathy, and justice. It simplifies complex human behavior into a binary of reward and punishment. It turns every mistake into a potential damnation. It removes context, nuance, compassion. It says, if you break the rules, no matter why, you burn. No sane legal system operates like that. No ethical framework worth following promotes infinite punishment. So why is it still acceptable in spiritual conversations? Why do people defend a belief that would be considered sadistic if practiced by any human institution? The answer is fear. Fear stops people from questioning what doesn't make sense. And hell is the biggest fear of all. Some argue that hell is just symbolic. But symbols have power, especially when they're taught to children as truth. Especially when people live their whole lives afraid of where they might end up. Even if they stop believing in hell, the emotional blueprint remains. They still feel anxious when they break old rules. They still feel guilty when they think differently. That's what psychological abuse does. It outlives the abuser, it lives in the mind of the victim, and it repeats itself unless examined. So much of what people fear about hell isn't about flames or demons. It's about rejection, about abandonment, about being told you're beyond saving, that you're fundamentally bad, that your questions make you dangerous, that your doubt makes you dirty. These aren't just spiritual ideas. These are deeply personal psychological messages, and they follow people everywhere. The concept of hell was never about love. It was about obedience. It was about silencing rebellion, about replacing self-trust with guilt. And when something damages a person's ability to think freely, love authentically, or live without fear, it's not spiritual, it's harmful. We don't need the idea of hell to be good people. In fact, we're better without it. Because when fear leaves the room, compassion has space to grow. And when guilt stops screaming, reason can finally speak.